We're in Menlo Park, California, in the Music Annex Studios, and we're very privileged to have with us somebody who's traveled all the way from a place called Weed, California, and that person is none other than Sylvia Massy. Welcome. Tell us about your beginnings.
I started in college radio. I learned how to use the equipment there, and realized after being in radio for a while that it really wasn't about the music, but more about commercials and advertising. So I found my way into music through recording studios, and worked my way up from, making coffee to recording on an 8-track, and then doing multi-track recording in several studios in LA.
Why do people want to work with you? Why are you a great engineer in other people's eyes?
I think that I have a talent in working with people in bringing out their best performances. I think it's important for a musician to feel really comfortable in an environment where they can express themselves comfortably and without fear. However, if I'm trying to get a performance that has anger in it, I might purposely make that artist very uncomfortable. And I've done that before. Bright lights. I might make a singer run around the block 5 times before he comes in and does his part. I've had a singer hang upside down before to try to get a performance out of him. I almost killed the guy, poor guy. I won't do that again. And but I think that people come to me for that, and I don't think there's many rules to be followed. I mean, there are some guidelines, but if we want to record something outside, if we want to take a piano and drag it outside and mic it outside in the middle of the night, or throw a guitar off a cliff, I've done that before. Record that, or smash a piano with a sledgehammer or something like that.
Expensive?
No. Pianos are cheap. I've been fortunate to work with many great producers and follow with them, including Rick Rubin. I think Rick and I have the same kind of love of the 70s equipment for recording. There was something happening in the 70s that there was a simplicity to what was going on in the 70s with recording, that we love the equipment, the 80 series Neves, the old tube compressors. I think we'd rather work on those anytime before working on the newer, larger format consoles. When I'm producing, I have to make a decision on whether or not analog is appropriate for a project, and a lot of it has to do with cost and the time available to do the recording. And also, I think you have to actually have better players when you're using analog, because there's less manipulation that you can do with the recording.
Less fix it in the mix, right?
Yeah. Right.
Do you think that the consumer is being cheated in any way by the fact that voices are getting auto-tuned and choruses are being doubled, by a click of a mouse, and stuff being moved around and corrected, and editing from
I don't know.
multiple takes?
I'm not sure that any of it's cheating, because they've been airbrushing photos, from the beginning of modern photography. So I think it's all part of the fantasy that's associated with this kind of entertainment. I think part of what we do in recording is to help the listener suspend disbelief and give them a sense of being a part of what they're listening to. And so it may not be real at all, but my strategy for recording these days is to record everything in a way where if you just push up these faders, monitoring back what you've recorded, and you have panning in pairs, that everything just is pre-mixed. Not that it would have a bunch of effects like delay or anything on it, but that the sounds are recorded in such a way that there's very little work to do to get the basics sounding good.
So that you can come back a week later and just push everything up at the same level and it should sound good, right?
It should sound great, yeah. Mm-hmm. So many times now, people are doing their own recordings at home and they'll send us projects to mix. And it becomes increasingly difficult to repair phasing problems between drum mics later. If they haven't addressed it when it's being recorded, it becomes a big problem later.
You talk about phase on drums more than most engineers, because you obviously attach importance to that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go into that a little deeper?
Yeah, I think if you're not really paying attention to the phase of the drums when you're recording, there's a hollowness in the sound of the drums, and the relationship between the different mics. If you want the best, punchiest sound, it's much more than just the microphones and the mic pre's and the EQ. It's really the relationship between each individual mic on the drum. I find it important to record the music in a way where when you push up the faders, your work is almost all done. The final touches, I do enjoy using automation for that, and whether it's a console automation like a flying faders or SSL style, or in the box, just some touches here and there, maybe a little vocal ride, but one trick that I learned from Rick Rubin for mixing with automation is something that he calls a slippery fader. And that's where you take, when your mix is nearly finished, if you want to give the choruses an extra punch, you just take your master fader, your stereo bus fader, and you just give it a little boost right on the choruses or in a bridge or wherever you want it. Just give it a little more excitement. And it's so subtle that you can't really hear it, but you feel it. And I thought that was always a really great way to use automation.
I used to love writing the main stereo fader when I was working on live shows.
Really?
I used to love doing that. I mean, with Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, when it got to the quiet bit in Money, I would almost shut the PA right off, so that a 15,000 seat hall was essentially still hearing his guitar cabinet, nothing out of the PA. So it was great just to increase the dynamics that way. And I love that. I love that notion of
dynamics.
Let's talk about some equipment specifics now.
Oh, good.
Any favorite mics for vocals, for example?
Well, I have an opinion about that. I love working with specific mics in recording. I have a fantastic Telefunken U47, which I love for vocals. However, I find one of the greatest mics made is an SM58, made by Shure. It's a $100 mic. And I have a story about that I was working with Rick Rubin and on some Smashing Pumpkins music. And Billy Corgan wanted to try some different mics for his voice. So we rented and brought in about 30 different choices of mics, including, I brought in my Telefunken. We had a Telefunken 251. We had M49. What else we have? U87s, U67s, the whole thing, and including a SM57 and a SM58 and a Sennheiser 421. Put them all in a row and had him sing the same verse with each mic on a separate track, and then did a blindfold test and listened to each of the mics afterwards. And the winner was the SM58 out of all of them. There was, $30,000 worth of mics, and the best mic for his voice was the $100 mic. So that has to be one of my favorite mics, is the SM58, and also the SM57s for drums, for guitars, can't be beat.
Let's talk about drums. Do you favor minimalist miking techniques, or do you like a mic per drum and some overheads?
It depends on the music, on which drum mics I'll be using, but I prefer a very simple collection of mics. Again, relatively inexpensive mics. I prefer SM57 for the snare, Sennheiser 421 for the kick, and I like Sennheiser 421s for miking the bottom of the toms, and the top of the toms SM98 Shure mic. Overheads, usually a pair of U87 Neumanns, and room mics might be 414 AKG mics, or anything goes.
So a combination of condenser and dynamic then?
Yeah, and when I'm miking the toms, I like to have a mic on both the top head and bottom head, and flip them out of phase, and use the top mic for the attack of the drum, and the bottom mic for the body of the drum.
What about bass?
I like to use a Countryman DI for the bass, and that would also be going to a cabinet with a Sennheiser 421 mic. These, you know, it doesn't have to be this collection of mics. It doesn't have to be a Sennheiser 421. I'll be game to try anything, but it always seems that Sennheiser 421 does the trick on the bass, so I might use that first if I'm trying to save time.
So might you mentioned that you would reverse the phase of the mic on top and the mic on the bottom.
Right.
Is there any particular relationship between the phase of the say the kick and the snare and the overheads and stuff?
After I set up my miking scheme for a drum kit, I'll carefully go through each mic, starting with the kick drum and muting all the other mics on the drum kit, and I'll listen to that kick drum along with one of the overheads put into center in mono, and I'll compare phase in and out, the phase button on the channel, just to see which way sounds better. It's like an optometrist, you know. It does. Is it clear this way or is it clear this way? And then I'll mute that after I figure that channel out, and I'll listen to the next mic in relationship with the kick drum. And I'll do that all the way down the line. The same with the snare. It takes some extra time to sort it all out, but once you've got everything in alignment like that, it's fantastic. It just sounds really good.
Interesting.
Every project is an entire story, and you'll get projects where all you have is a singer-songwriter, and you're going to build a band around that artist, and you're going to help them write their songs. You're going to hire every programmer and everything that they need to make their vision a reality. And then you've got the projects where everything is pretty much ready to go, and they're all great players, and you just have to stay out of their way. So as a producer, I think it's important for you to be ready for anything and to be willing to just jump in there and do it.